When it comes to terrible people on the internet, I don't really think that I can make a callback to somebody who has repeatedly offended more than EDP. Since 2020, when EDP was originally first caught by predator poachers being, well, a fucking predator, a little creep. Since then, we have seen EDP become an increasingly more degenerate person who can't really seem to get his life together. EDP has been exposed on multiple occasions by independent people and also public personalities, and even after that, he can't really seem to learn his lesson. So EDP was exposed for like the fucking billionth time by two separate people, I believe, in this occasion, and this time, it doesn't really look like it's going to turn out well for him. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's going to turn out well for anybody at all. So just to give a quick summary on what EDP did this time, well, he was caught trying to text a minor again, and this time he got caught by Gideon. And not only Gideon, but also by a 16-year-old girl who recounted her experience with him in DMs and other forms of vile messages. Now, all of you may be aware, but for those who have forgotten, or who just outright don't remember or ever cared, EDP has a habit of contacting minors and sending them explicit images and messages that under normal circumstances, even if the person was older, they wouldn't want to be seeing any of the garbage that EDP sends out. Even though EDP is a very deplorable and terrible individual, the worst part about him is the fact that he feels no shame and he doesn't understand how to take accountability for his actions. The reason this is worse is because this leads to EDP consistently redoing the same actions that got him in trouble in the first place. This is only propagated by the fact that he hasn't been reprimanded legally yet. Since he hasn't really been hit with any severe punishment beyond the absolute ruination of his career and shame online, it is unlikely that he will ever change his ways, and that's the worst part about this entire situation. So as a community, when it comes to deplorable people like this who could potentially ruin more people's lives, we usually like to talk about situations like these in order to spread awareness and prevent more people from getting harmed by people such as EDP. Because of the awareness that is spread, it allows other people to remain safe and to avoid a potentially terrible situation with whoever it is that was exposed during that time. This also allows victims to speak out and recount their stories without fearing disbelief from the general community. And all of this leads into question as to why is YouTube, for lack of better words, basically protecting EDP from any potential coverage and backlash. So over the past week, for several days now, tons and tons of people have been covering EDP's situation only to be met by a community guideline strike. Among some of the very first people who were to receive a guideline strike and have their video swiftly removed were Jamari, Blizz, and even Turkey Tom. Even though a lot of us have since then been made aware of YouTube's guideline policy on amateur sting operations and vigilantism, something about all of these deletions really is rubbing us the wrong way. While I understand the dangers of vigilantism and using vigilantism for content, there is something that comes into question out of all of this. Allow me to use Turkey Tom's strike as an example. Turkey Tom reached out to YouTube on Twitter in regards to a video that was taken down. What makes it all the more weirder is that the video wasn't even actually public yet, it was privated on his channel according to him. This makes it all the more weirder to me because for me, it makes it seem as if YouTube went out of their way to completely remove any information that could be present about the EDP445 situation. And I don't really seem to be the only one who's been having the same idea and the same conclusion either. I actually held off on making this video because at first I thought that it was just a fluke coincidence that only like maybe 3 or 4 YouTubers were getting stricken down, but after the days passed, we started noticing that YouTube started taking down even more videos, including Gideon's video, which had remained up for a little bit longer than the rest of these. Now that several people have gotten community guideline strikes and their videos have been removed, this raises a huge question on the YouTube sphere. Why is YouTube censoring and silencing all of these creators, especially when they want to talk about a situation that could inevitably protect other individuals from somebody as heinous as EDP445? Something that was brought up by Turkey Tom that I also want to mention is that YouTube had reached out to somebody already in regards to the video termination. The email itself wasn't very descriptive, but what I will say is that YouTube is not going to be reinstating that video because it falls under their harassment and cyberbullying policy. YouTube claims that the video includes content that depicts a staged meetup that is used to accuse an identifiable individual of egregious misconduct with a minor without the presence of law enforcement. On one hand, this response is understandable because we should be more careful when it comes to vigilantism on YouTube because some people could easily be misrepresented or misaccused of something that they didn't do. But as Turkey Tom puts it, this raises another question. EDP has never been arrested or formally charged, yet YouTube deleted his channel. We're all fine with this because we know but if YouTube is gonna ban any amateur predator catcher content on YouTube, doesn't that contradict the previous policy decision? Why ban EDP but also ban anyone talking about him being caught? Many questions. Turkey Tom does have a massive point. It's ironic that YouTube actually banned EDP445 off of a sting operation that was actually completely botched. This just shows that YouTube is being incredibly hypocritical to their current statement. As far as I know, Gideon's video actually had police involvement and was supposed to be a better operated sting operation than the previous one that we all saw on YouTube. And despite that, YouTube YouTube still took that video down, and they are taking anybody else down who are also talking about this information and who are talking about the situation at hand, which, as Tom also stated, is nonsensical because all we are doing is just talking about the situation and we are not actually engaging in any amateur vigilantism. Logically speaking, the way I see it, nobody should have really been banned or stricken down or had their videos removed for just talking about a situation at hand, especially when you take into account that ED445 is in fact very much guilty. Even though he's not guilty in a criminal sense or a legal sense, there is enough evidence out there that justifies spreading awareness about what he's currently up to or the malicious things that he's been practicing in the past couple of years. Not only that, but ED445 is not the type of person that would actually take guilt or take accountability for his actions, as I mentioned earlier. He has attempted to come back to YouTube multiple times. He has attempted to come back to the internet under TikTok, under Instagram, under many social medias, including his own website. Each and every time that he attempted to try to make a comeback, one thing that remained consistent is that he could not control himself. He could not help himself from trying to contact minors. And based off his own words, it's not like he cares either, because he's gonna continue doing this shit because his life, as he says, is already ruined, and there is no way that somebody else can ruin his life once again, especially after exposing him for trying to contact even more minors.
I am unfortunately EDP's victim. I am 16, I'm turning 17, and EDP first started talking to me when I was 15. He messaged me first, and I told him my age, and he didn't block me. I didn't really know who he was. I remember seeing him back in like 2021, but all I knew was that he was caught in a predator catch before. I didn't really know that he was friends with Tyler, the creator, or any of these other people. There's actual messages of me telling my age to him several times, and there's voice messages of other victims that he groomed.
I mean, regardless of the situation, Kayla, I don't give a fuck. Like, she's like, oh, I'm gonna ruin your life. Well, if you think that you can ruin that bitch any more than what it's already been ruined, you go right the fuck ahead. Be my fucking guest, bitch. As a matter of fact, motherfucker, I'll get front row tickets to see this fucking shit, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, I really don't give a shit anymore. You know what I mean?
You guys are probably gonna be like, oh, Kayla, why are you agreeing with him? Well, the thing is, I had to, so that he wouldn't get mad at me. He threatened me from the beginning. Like, I was scared for my life at this point.
EDP is truly a creep, he's truly a weirdo, and he genuinely does not belong here. The fact that YouTube is trying to silence everybody and their attempts to expose EDP for being a repeat offender is a tragedy on its own, and hopefully it doesn't become a norm, because if it does, we're probably going to be seeing a lot more issues when it comes to trying to expose other bad actors on the field. As we all know, there is no shortage of content creators that eventually end up exposed for being some very terrible and questionable individuals. So to remove the ability of being able to freely speak on anybody who may potentially do some terrible shit is something that none of us should be looking forward to. It only raises a lot of concerns as to what is YouTube actually planning and what is YouTube doing behind the scenes. If YouTube is trying to hide EDP away from their platform to avoid unwanted attention, this would actually only work in the contrary, because now people are starting to assume the worst, and people are assuming that YouTube itself is filled with bad actors that most people wouldn't want to be associated with. This is definitely not a good look, and tons of people are starting to lash out against YouTube in their weird choices that they have currently been making. Personally, I think EDP445 is somebody that deserves all this shit coming their way because of their deplorable behavior and their terrible actions, and YouTube should allow creators to freely speak and spread awareness of terrible individuals such as EDP445 who may potentially be a risk and a danger to other people in the community. Anyways, that's all I have to say for today. Sorry if this video was a little bit dull. It's something that I was going to cover on Thursday with a little bit of a different outlook, but I was going to wait for more information to unravel so that I could better formulate my thoughts and opinions, and I'm glad I really decided to wait until now to make this video, because I didn't want to jump the gun and assume that YouTube was just deleting everybody off the face of the earth for some very bullshit reasons. But at least now we have information that basically confirms everybody's suspicions, and it doesn't really seem to be looking good on YouTube's part. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I love you all, and I hope to see you next time.